Welcome to the Lean Lounge, a podcast brought to you by Lean Revisions. Please welcome your host, Jeff Gray.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lean Lounge. My name is Jeff Gray, and I'm your host here on the Lean Lounge. And I'm also the CEO of Lean Revisions. And here on the Lean Lounge, we like to talk about everything under the Lean Operations umbrella. And before we get started today, I want to thank my sponsors, KPI Fire and Sigma XL. And I also want to thank you, the listening audience, for joining in today. Today, you're going to be in for a treat as I'm going to take you through an awesome experience that I just had in the past week as I went to my friend and colleague's Global Lean Summit. Our friend Jared Thatcher put this together with his wife, Anna, and their son, John, who's a senior at BYU, who's going to be graduating, a nice young man. And so last week at the Global Lean Summit, it was an awesome experience. There was probably about 20 or so practitioners within the Lean Operations umbrella. And there was probably about another 100, 120 folks who came to the summit for 4 days. The first day was a day of workshops. We spent 3.5 hours. We had about 5 or 10 different workshops that people could go to that taught them all kinds of different concepts under the Lean Operations umbrella. The next day, we dialed it in a little bit to about 75 minutes at each of the sessions with different topics from different practitioners. We had Jared Thatcher, we had Tracy O'Rourke, we had Tom Jackson, we had Sam McPherson, Adam Lawrence, we had me, Jeff Gray, we had John Dyer, we had Mark Graben, we had Kirill Sampson, we had Paul Akers who chimed in and came in on a Zoom and talked about his organization and his operations. We had a bunch of other people. We had Jeff Russell, Dirk Fisher. I'm looking here at my book that I'm going to share with you. We have Sam Yankelevich. I know I chopped your name up, Sam. Sorry. I'm going to post everybody's tags in the LinkedIn, so just in case I missed anybody's name. And we had Hyde Oba. He was hilarious. He's a Japanese person, and he's TPS, Total Production Systems expert, and he gave us some really good insights, and we discussed some of the myths about implementing Lean in the Toyota Production Systems. And he was great when I asked him a few questions. He had me cracking up. Day 2 is what I really want to talk about, is that all 120, 30 of us jumped on a couple buses and went out there into the Toyota Material Handling Plant in Columbus, Indiana. And we spent the whole day there as they toured us through their whole program, which was absolutely phenomenal. We spent a whole day. They took us on a tour. I'm going to walk through kind of their concepts for you guys because anyone can do this. No matter what industry you're in, we went to one of the world-class operations here in the United States and spent a day, and these folks did not have to show us what they did and how transparent they were and how they answered all of our questions. And the whole purpose was for, on the last day, we broke out in groups. We had a few more speakers, Julian Harrison from the United States Postal Service. I'm sorry, it's Harrington, Julian Harrington from the United States Postal Service. She spoke and talked about how they're implementing Lean there. We had a lot of organizations. We had folks from Blue Origin. We had the USPS, we had Eli Lilly, and a bunch of other manufacturing organizations that were there. So the reason I want to tell you this is because you can apply Lean and learn these concepts from a world-class operation that has been transparent and has been sharing this knowledge for 60, 70 years now. And a lot of top industries have embraced this methodology, and that's why they're world-class, because they have taken to heed their leadership and implementing Lean operations management throughout. And so on the last day of this summit, everyone took their learnings and applied it to their operations. And they walked out with a plan of attack on how they could begin to implement and continue to increase and sustain what they're doing out there. And so by following these world-class, globally proven methods, that was the whole point of this, is to go out there and implement them and to have all these speakers that I just mentioned who are all practitioners and consultants and trainers, podcasters who've had, 10, 20 years or more implementing these concepts and being very successful in any kind of industry, supply chain, healthcare, technology, food and beverage. I'm going tomorrow, actually, I'm going to be working at a casino, a tribal gaming organization here in Washington State, to help them expand into their commercial properties and not just into their casino operations with the application of Toyota Lean Production Systems. And it is a system. It is a system. And so what I'm going to share with you today, my nuggets of knowledge to you, is some of the key learnings that I learned out there on this tour. And one of the things I learned about Toyota was that leadership and everyone within the organization, from top to bottom, has embraced the concepts and the methodology. And it's the way they do business. And that's why they are world class. That's why they have some of the best products on the planet. Quality, they have the best customer service. They have the best supply chain. And everyone is focused on that mission of meeting or exceeding customer expectations by using their methodology. So one of the things I really liked is when we walked in the door, they had all kinds of things in the hallways. They had pictures of their people who were embracing the methodology and teaching it. They had success stories. They had shared some of their visions for the future with different products, for safety, for quality, for environment, for management, leadership. And I really like some of the takeaways they gave us. They gave us some of their core values. And I'm going to read through some of the things and explain some of the things that they did, because it's not that difficult, you guys, to transform your organization. It's just a way of doing business. It's a way of life within the organization. So some of their core values that helps them sustain is, always be faithful to your duties. Everyone from the top to the bottom. From the 20-year-old who's just got hired and onboarded that week to someone who's been there for 30 years. Always be studious and creative. Think out of the box. Their whole goal is to solve problems every day. And they've been doing this for 50, 60 years, and there's still things they're working on. They have set up the adrenaline room, which was just awesome. Obeya room, or if you've heard of those, a war room we call them sometimes. But it's where they're tactical at their approach to optimizing their operations and always looking to do things better. Eliminate waste, eliminate cost, improve efficiencies, give the balance of work-life balance to their employees, and engage their innovation out there in their organizations. And it's not difficult. Always be practical. Always strive to build a home-like atmosphere within their culture. I couldn't tell you how many people were smiling at us as we walked through. The people on the line putting things together would look up and smile and wave. The people in the engineering, the people in the procurement offices as we walked through, everybody had a smile on their face. Their culture was toxic. Everyone was glistening with energy and enthusiasm and willing to answer our questions and be honest and transparent. Now, one of the things we couldn't do was take pictures throughout everything, but I do have a couple pictures I'll throw in here as I talk about some of the things here. But their adrenaline room was where their tactical application every day takes place. We weren't allowed to film some of that, but a lot of the stuff in the factories and their onboarding and their training was just phenomenal. From day one, no matter who you are in that organization, if you're the new CFO or a new production line worker, a new procurement manager, engineer, quality improvement person, you go through 5 days of onboarding as a group, no matter who you are on that week that you're coming on board. You are taught the lean practices as a way of life. They do simulations. They talk about production and the end-to-end and the supply chain and everything. And the key thing I thought was really cool was the Andon method. If you haven't heard of that, Andon is where if something goes wrong, you have the authority to hit the button and stop the line. Stop production. The team comes in, they identify what the problem is, or at least they contain the problem and not move it down the line so it snowballs. so you make more bad products. And so I thought that was really cool. When my question was to the instructor was, so you're telling me you're onboarding some 20-year-old kid or 25-year-old, 18-year-old, you're taking them through this, and on day 3 you're doing this simulation, and you're telling them in this exercise if there's something's wrong with the product or the information or the system, hit the line, hit the button and stop the line. And he looked at me and he goes, well, there's a little apprehension at first, but by day 5, they really understand that it's their responsibility as part of their job, as part of the ecosystem in that organization, is to not pass on defects. If there's something wrong, fix it now, don't pass it along. And that's the culture, that's the environment that they have built there at the Toyota material handling plant there in Indianapolis, outside of Indianapolis. And I highly recommend, you go there and visit. They do this, I think, almost every day with a group of, 120, 150 people. There was a big, huge room. They walked us through their whole methodology. They spent half a day showing us what they did and how they did it. Then they walked the walk, and it was just an awesome, awesome summit and an awesome experience. And so some of the key takeaways and nuggets of knowledge I'm going to share with you today. I have their handbook. They gave us the handbook. And it's a reference. And it's their Toyota Lean Management. That's their system. It's a guide to sustaining process improvement. And it's a thin little book, as you can see if you're watching this on Apple Podcasts or something. And the key to the Toyota way and what makes Toyota stand out is not any of the individual elements. What is important is having all of the elements together as a system. It must be practiced every day in a consistent manner, not in spurts. So this is not something that you hire someone to go do for the organization. This is not something you have 5 people in the lean office go do and execute. This is how it's done throughout the system. And this quote is from Taiichi Ohno, the father of the Toyota production system, that he developed back in the 40s and 50s and after World War II and stuff, the whole Toyota family. And so it's not one person's job. It's not, let's start it over here. It's not, a piecemeal over here. It's the system from the supply chain all the way to the customer. It's the system of building quality products, having the right information, the right products, pieces, etc., where you need them, when you need it. Another thing I thought was really cool was they have very low inventory. Very, very low inventory for making 85 trucks a day. There's actually forklifts, but they call them trucks. The cool thing, too, is they were able to be like a Starbucks. When you go to Starbucks, there's a latte. Then there's a whatever else people order. I just order latte, so I don't know all the names. But they're able to make electric vehicles and then a combustion engine vehicle, different sizes, different colors, different, you name it, requirements, specs, run right after the other without doing a lot of changeover. SMED, if you guys are familiar with that. So their tooling is interchangeable. Their downtime is minimal. Their tack time is to the T. Whenever there's an issue, they monitor how much time that has impacted the line so they know if there's going to be any overtime that day and who was volunteering to spend another hour or so that day. They have one shift, 1,400 people. All in sync. It was an absolutely awesome experience to go see what I've been teaching and all these other friends of mine and colleagues were there doing, and new friends of other businesses that were there. And if you think about, why is someone from Eli Lilly going to the Toyota Lean Management production system and understand it? Well, because they have safety issues. They have regulations and requirements. They're trying to get, the right treatments and drugs out there for us around the planet. They want to make sure they're getting it right the first time in their research and development, cost reduction, and meeting the requirements of whatever they're trying to cure for us. Why is Blue Horizon or Blue Origin out there at Toyota Production Systems? Why is there counties from Ohio? I'm sorry, Kirill, I forgot which county you're from, but he's one of our speakers out there, and you guys can, I'm going to tag him in LinkedIn. But he had about 10 of his people from his county in Ohio, one of the bigger counties out there. They're implementing lean within a government operation within the state. Why were they there? Because they're looking at meeting customer value. meaning keeping up, whatever their requirements are in that county, transportation, electricity, safety, you name it. So lean applies to anything, any business challenge that you have out there. And so that's why you go tour something like this. And that last day of this summit took all this information and had people develop their plan of action, either to start a lean program or either to keep going and build upon what they've learned, to build an Obeya room, to embrace this throughout the community or the organization. And so that is why different organizations, world-class organizations, are going here. Why do you think the United States Postal Service, they already have 450 black belts. I think he said 300 or 400 green belts and a plethora of yellow belts across the country, across the enterprise. It's supply chain, it's security, it's logistics, it's maintenance of the vehicles and airplanes. It's all of those kind of things that come together. It's your IT, it's your information, it's your people, your workforce. No matter what the weather is, we get our mail on time, So all of those organizations are looking at how to take these concepts and apply them and make them fit within the organization. And that's what you should be doing too. That's why I do this podcast. And that's why I have the kind of people on here to share this knowledge. And a lot of these names that I just mentioned at the beginning, my colleagues will be on here sharing their experience and sharing how they've used this in different kind of industries, healthcare, energy, supply chain, agriculture, government, you name it. They apply it to no matter what you do. So I know it's just a podcast for, 20, 30 minutes, but I am going to just talk about a few of the concepts for you to think about. And if you're new to understanding lean, go to our website, leanrevisions.com, and go to our workshop tab. And under that workshop tab, there'll be a thing that says white belt. White belt is just a level of understanding of what all these concepts are. There's 10 videos that we have put together. They're about 5 minutes each. They walk you through a high level of what all this Lean Six Sigma stuff is and how you can begin to get started. And so if you're listening and you're thinking it's for manufacturing only or my corporation or organization will never do it, go there, look at those videos, take that knowledge check, call any of these practitioners that are going to be on LinkedIn that I'm tagging, and we can help you. We can get that ball rolling and help you set up this infrastructure by world-class operations, because now we've seen it, we've been doing it, and it reinforces what we do also to help organizations out there. So some of the key things that I thought and took away from Toyota were, lean management. It's achievable through sustained effort. And it's just an everyday way of doing things. It's not something on top of what you do. It is what you do. It's sustainment. It's the way you operate throughout the whole organization. And I'm not going to talk too much about the history, but they took us through their history here from 1890 all the way up to 2024. The awards they've won, how they've changed their focus, and kept it simple. They're not using a lot of statistics. They're not using a lot of SPC and QFDs and all that because they've dialed that in. Those of you at the beginning, you're going to need SPC. You're going to need those QFDs. You're going to need some of the statistical analysis to get you to this point because they have eliminated challenges. They've eliminated waste, and they're continually trying to eliminate more. So they're not having to do, robust Monte Carlo designs and stuff because they fixed things years ago. That's why the quality of their products are world class, because they did this stuff, back in the 80s and 90s when this stuff was catching on in the US. So they had a thing that was called the Toyota House, the elimination of waste, or MUDA. They do Kaizen events. They have standard work. And the key thing I thought was really cool was this thing they called weak point management. And at first when I heard that, I thought, who's the weakest manager in the system? What does that mean? But it's looking at a weak point in the system, identifying it, containing it, putting in countermeasures to it while they are driving deep down into root cause analysis with a simple 5 why. And it goes deeper sometime than 5, and it goes higher sometimes to 3. And they had this whole system that they showed us about how when they identify an issue, They hit the andon, stop the line. If it's necessary, they'll do their 5 whys right then and there. They'll also look at the opposite. What did we do to contain this first 5 why? What's in place? Why did it slip through? Why is the information there? Why did this break? What happened? And so how do we contain that from happening? So they build it out of their system right when it happened, not down the line and trying to expect quality in or field failures. So it was a very cool concept that they've put into play within their enterprise-wide organization. They call it weak point management. Where is the weak link in the chain? Let's fix it. Let's make it stronger. Let's eliminate it. And that was one of their things. That's part of their core values. And that was their doing things just in time, JIT. Visual management is everywhere. And Jidoka is everywhere as part of their pillars of success out there. So the elimination of waste is the roof of their house of quality. Very simple concepts. Building the house, they built in their core values. Always be studious and creative. Always be faithful to your duties, like I said. Always strive to build a home-like atmosphere, culture, where it's not toxic, where you can speak up if something's wrong. You're not pointing fingers at each other. You're identifying problems in the system, which is your tooling, which is your supplier, which is the way that you'd put something together. The inventory, the location, missing something. Something went wrong in the system. It's not a person. So it's not a toxic environment. And also eliminate waste by knowing where to look. Where do I look for waste? How do I identify it? What is the waste? What are the types of waste? The 8 wastes. Downtime acronym. Those kind of things will help you know where to look. Where is your Mura? If you don't know those, I'm not going to go deep dive into it. Basically, where's the unevenness? Where's the overburden in your system? And just where is simple waste in your processes? And they use the 5 S's to make sure everything is in its place. Nothing is out of place. It was like an OR room walking through there. Everything had a place. Everything was labeled, color-coded. You could just tell if something was missing. And it was my first time walking through there. So they had a system of 5S. They had things outlined where they were supposed to go. You knew when it was time to replenish. They had a Kanban system. They had inventory flow coming right in from the dock, opened and being distributed to the locations of point of use. They had safety everywhere. They had visual management everywhere in every location, telling you what the takt time was, where they were in their production for that day, what was out of place, what was red, green, yellow. And everyone in that system was able to see what was going on at any time of day. I understood by the time I got halfway through what was going on as we were walking the flow of the process. We could see things happening in real time. The changeover. One of my key things was when they had some of the presses there, I was looking around like, where are all the dies? What's changing over? What are you doing? They had a few things sitting there. They went in, they went out. They bolted them down, and their system was running. There wasn't, hours of changeover. There wasn't, 20 people taking a die in and out on a forklift or on a crane or whatever. They had it dialed in. So 5S was key. So they had everything where they needed. They standardized the process, just like I just said. Their tooling was interchangeable. They weren't looking for things that were out of place or had to go get it on the shelf. It was right there, point of use. So they were very efficient. They knew their takt time. What was their demand rate? They had forecasts for like 3 months, 6 months out. And they were able to pivot depending on the environmental changes, customer requests, requirements, all of those kind of things. They had a lot of risk mitigation built in their systems also. And they had a standard of JIT. That's part of their pillars of their Toyota house. And their Jidoka, automation with a human touch. So they didn't just automate things, because if you just automate things, that's the best you're going to be. So you have to make sure you're automated to a point, and then there's that human touch to make sure that you can improve it. Automation is not the answer to everything. You must optimize, and then you can automate, but don't make it so you're locked in completely where there's no wiggle room for you to continue to improve that automation. And that's what all that is about. Because if you do that only, that's the best you're going to be. And if you automate a bad system or something changes in your organization, your environment, your climate, your customer demand, then you're stuck with an obsolete automated system that you have to now go repeat and redo at a cost. So don't lock yourself in. And they had a thing that called stop, call, wait. Stop if something's wrong. Call the associate who can get the requirements dialed in, and then wait for them to get that response before you pass things on. Awesome stuff, my friends. Awesome stuff out there. You can't manage what you can't see. They had visual management. Here's what they had, you guys. They had 2S and 5S shadow boxes. They had color coding, standard work process indicators throughout the system. They had their obeyer room where leadership would go in there and spend only 20 minutes in the morning and look at what went well yesterday, what they need to improve upon today. 20 minutes through every step along the process. Some of that fluctuated a little bit. Then they came back halfway through the day and made sure they were on target with their visual management, with their tact time, with their standards, with their issues. They had key performance indicators everywhere. They had daily win-loss production. They had safety built into every system. They had quality and productivity. They had a visual audit system. They had an Andon and production scoreboards everywhere. I could tell what was going on my walk. I knew if they were on target or not. I knew if it was red, yellow, green, just by walking through the factory. 1 million square feet, all under one roof. Suppliers were close by. Main suppliers were. So we had a lot of overseas suppliers from Japan also, because they knew the quality products that they were putting on their machines and things were going to last and fit and meet the requirements. They had floor management development system, boards. So they were right there. This was cool too. In each area, they had a visual management. And so they could see what was going on throughout their control in their organization, in their operation. So the 10 people had real-time visual management boards to see if anything was going on. What happened yesterday? What they build out? What is their tact? Are they on time or not? Do they need someone to stay for overtime? And they volunteered. They weren't demanded, hey, everybody, you're overtime because we're not making our quota today, whatever. So that's part of that culture that they had built in there. And then they had weak point management, which was so cool and too much. I'm not going to go in detail about it, but it was a very cool concept that would basically, I could explain it on this podcast until I get someone from Toyota to come in here and talk for 45 minutes, or it's one of my colleagues, maybe Hyde. I know I chopped his name. It's not exactly how you pronounce it. Sorry, Haida. But the weak point management was the key to success that I saw out there, is how they dove deep and had status along with these boards out there, the floor management development system, the boards. It was all tied into that Andon, where they were empowered at the point of use, the point of breakdown, to fix it. If not, then they could escalate it. But it was all documented and rolled up, and everyone knew, and it was very transparent. I didn't see one person's name anywhere that caused the problem. It was always a process or a system issue. And that's what lean operations management is all about, you guys. Getting out there and understanding your system from end to end. Not blaming people, not pointing fingers, but you as leadership, top level, mid-level, lower level, front line, customer facing, service, product, whatever you are doing, it's your job to understand that whole system and be in control of what you own. And so the betterment of your whole organization and eventually the customer's community, environment, etc., your whole organization. And it goes throughout. Quality organization, you have quality suppliers. It's economic stability. It's stabilization. It's growth. It's expansion. It's profits. They've showed us how they've expanded that one facility as they've expanded, and how their operations were not impacted by new construction and things of that nature as they built on top of itself and expanded because of the growth, because of the sustainment and the quality of their product and the revenue they're making. And so those examples there are key to success. An obeyer room is your hub. It's the brain of your operation. It's where you leadership and everyone can walk in there and give status on something that's going wrong there. And they continually do Kaizen. There's always looking for opportunities. You can always do a Kaizen. It doesn't have to be 5 days. It could be an hour. It could be, 4 hours. It could be within your engineering department. Excuse me. You can be, out on the floor. They do have a lean organization, but they train the folks to do this and support them. And also they go out to their suppliers and their OEM. And they're trained on these concepts. So nothing stops. If anything does break down, they have areas where your part is there within just hours, minutes in some cases, to get you out in the field or whatever back up. So they do Kaizens throughout. They have 5S. They have situation recognition, which is your Kaizens. They have their 5 Whys, which is really part of their weak point management, which I thought was very cool. And the Obeya room, which was called the adrenaline room, which was awesome. They come in there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there's no chairs in there. There was just tables like this one. And it was a good-sized room. It was 1 million square foot. They're making, 85 trucks a day. But you had visual management. They come in there. They sit around the tables. They have whiteboards all around everywhere. They have TVs around for visual management, tack time on one end, supplier reallocation, their Kanban system, their just-in-time inventory. So many things that, too much to talk about here, because that was a day that I was out there. It was 4 days at this whole summit. But their focus is on the total elimination of waste and building a system and looking at these 8 wastes that, we've talked about before, in episode 1 especially. So I just wanted to talk about the Global Lean Summit. My colleagues and I had a great time. Thank you, Jared Thatcher and Anna and John out there for putting all this together, and everyone else who helped. I'm sure you had some help, but you guys were the front-facing operation folks there. And I highly recommend you out there, anyone, get a hold of any of the folks that I'm going to tag on this LinkedIn. We all have specialties, whether you need to start, whether you need to improve and sustain and go, you need design, you need leadership, any of those kind of things. That is what this is all about. And it's not going to happen overnight, but you need to start thinking about before your competitors eat your lunch, before, your workforce doesn't come back, you have high turnover, where are you bleeding resources? And it's leadership to get the ball rolling, but it's your whole organization to sustain the efforts and the benefits out there. So that was a little bit about what I've learned. And, there's too much to talk about, but I really thank the folks at Toyota. I didn't want to start listing names. I didn't know if I had the ability and the okay to do that. But I highly recommend anyone looking to optimize operations in any industry. Like I say, Mason and I are going to be at a traffic control supply, episode 6 with Keone. We're going to spend 10 days out there implementing this methodology. We are re-engineering and optimizing systems now, and then we're going to take it to the next level and put this house of quality into his organization with his 30 people. And he's a $3.5 million organization. He was a $10,000 organization 3 years ago. And now he's looking to expand and, another $1 million on top of that, maybe by the end of the year, maybe in 6 months, by implementing these concepts and sustaining them and getting everybody embraced to build the system from end to end. And so that's a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today. If you need help implementing these concepts, you know where to reach out to Lean Revisions. Come to our website. Do our white belt first, just to understand what this is. And you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, leanrevisions.com. Contact me at contact@leanrevisions.com. If I can't help you, you just heard I have 10, 15 different colleagues that I will send you their way to get you started in the right direction for your lean operations management. So thank you for watching. Thanks to my sponsors, Sigma XL and KPI Fire. And hope this was a good session for you guys to get you thinking about going lean and staying lean, being lean, always. This is Jeff Gray from the Lean Lounge. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hello, everyone. This is Jeff Gray from the Lean Lounge, brought to you by Lean Revisions. I want to thank you for watching our show, listening to our show all over Apple and Spotify and iHeart and SiriusXM. And I want to especially thank one of our sponsors, Sigma XL. Now, if you haven't heard of Sigma XL, Sigma XL is an Excel plugin to help you execute all of your Lean, your Six Sigma, your Agile, your PDCA, and really any other kind of process improvement approach that you're using out there in your organizations and in your businesses. Sigma XL has been around since the late 90s. I started using Sigma XL in the early 2000s, so date myself a little bit, for about 20 years. And over those 20 years, they have expanded and grown into an awesome software that'll help you execute your Lean Six Sigma projects out there. It's an Excel plugin. They have over 100,000 users. They're in over 180 countries around the planet, so they must be doing something right. And it's a very simple software that you can use. You can download off their site, plug it into your Excel. It'll help you do your charters. It'll help you do all of your statistical analysis, your hypothesis testing, your design, your Monte Carlos, your SPC. They have lots of templates for QFDs, for your root cause analysis. There's C&E matrix for your solution selection and root cause analysis. Everything you need to do to successfully execute a Lean project. So visit our friends at Sigma XL and download their software. Tell them Jeff from the Lean Lounge sent you, Jeff from Lean Revisions. I want to thank you for following along with us on our podcast and keep listening. I hope you are enjoying the variety of practitioners and authors and real life folks who are just executing projects and sharing some nuggets of knowledge along the way. So visit our friends at Sigma XL and download their software and continue watching the Lean Lounge. I'm your host, Jeff Gray. See you soon.
Welcome to KPI Fire, strategy execution software. Align strategy, drive execution, engage people. Here's how it works. First, you create a dashboard of strategic goals and the key metrics that demonstrate success. Then projects are created that cascade under those strategic goals. The progress of those projects and the movement of their metrics roll up into the strategic goals they belong to. With KPI Fire, your strategic progress becomes tangible, measurable, and at your fingertips. KPI Fire also allows you to capture your employees' best ideas for continuous improvement and reward those contributions. From top to bottom, your organization can clearly see strategy, and everyone feels that they have a say and a stake in the success of that strategy. It means that management can clearly prove hard and soft savings, and that they aren't wasting time rolling up reports. And it means that every employee can have simple, real-time visibility on projects and strategy progress. And what that translates to is alignment, strategy becoming reality, and igniting success. KPI Fire is a simple, intuitive interface. It's the right tool for any improvement approach and any size team. And it's easy. It requires no download or IT support and is at your fingertips on any device. Instant visibility to your business. Align strategy, drive execution, engage people.
For more information on today's show or to become a sponsor, visit leanrevisions.com. Join the virtual studio audience by emailing podcast@leanrevisions.com for tickets. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X. This podcast is hosted by Jeff Gray, produced and edited by Make Your Day Richer.